Okay, awesome. Mary, thank you so much for joining the Green Acres Health Food Store page. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I'm Mary Kiss. I am a gut health educator here at Vital Planet. I have been working with Brenda Watson, since 2001.
Oh,
First with Renew Life for a while, and now with Vital Planet.
oh,
So, yeah, I've been primarily teaching people about their digestive health, now for like 25 years, which is crazy. But yeah.
yeah. I mean, the list goes on and on with gut health. There's never
Oh,
there's never something you can't add to your routine.
absolutely. And research is constantly evolving, right? Especially when it comes to the gut microbiome and just the organisms they're identifying and the compounds they're producing that impact different systems more. And so, really exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought I would take meet with you today since it's January. A lot of our guests and everybody, just naturally around the world likes to consider January a month to connect with their bodies, cleanse, and start and get ready for the new year. Uh,
Yes,
so I thought it'd be great if we kick off by talking about the Vital Cleanse.
absolutely.
A lot of our guests love. Our first question is, what are some signs that an individual would be like, okay, I'm gonna start a cleanse?
Well, you know, it could be digestive. So, where, maybe their digestive system, especially after the holidays, is kind of slowed down because, when we are going to holiday parties, dinners, just cookie parties, all of that kind of stuff, it's really fun. But that increase in sugar and alcohol and just heavier food altogether can, impact our liver, kind of making it more taxed, and also just our digestive system as a whole. Right. And so, just gas and bloating, just indigestion, that's your intestinal system telling you, hey, I need a little help. I need to get things moving and a reboot. So doing a cleanse would be a great way to kind of help reboot that. Also fatigue, inflammation. Those also are signs that there could be, maybe toxins that have kind of settled into joint tissue and causing that sense of, feeling inflamed, almost, like for people who have toxic buildup in their joints, right? They almost feel arthritic, but in fact, it's not a condition. It really is just the fact that, they need to get things moving, and just really doing a cleanse would be a good way to do that. So I would say that those would be, some primary symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. The fatigue, of course, digestion and fatigue, I was just definitely thinking of. And then for me too, when I start getting weird breakouts, like behind
Yes.
the ears or like more
Mhm.
on my back, I'm like, this is not right.
Right.
I'm indulging too much.
Skin issues, and everyone's different, really, in how they handle toxic load, right? Sometimes it can manifest in the skin. For some people, they never see anything on their skin, but it's just severe chronic fatigue. For
Yeah.
others, it's just inflammation, whether it's in their muscle tissue or their joint tissue, whether it's just chronic headaches, brain fog. Those are really a lot of, but just kind of the alarms going off that, doing something to support the liver, to support the intestinal system periodically, to help relieve that toxic load.
This question I did just think of, but sometimes our guests come in and they're looking for like a few day cleanse or like a week cleanse. Your cleanse is 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
even the option up to 28 days. Why did your team take that approach?
Well, to be honest, I believe back in the day when Brenda first started formulating cleanses, in fact, like the organ detox, the whole body cleanse, like the vital cleanse there, I believe it was a 28-day cleanse. Like because
Yeah,
to really do a more thorough cleanse, typically it would be like a month period.
yeah,
But then realizing not everyone's willing to commit to a month, so then it was reduced down to 2 weeks to give people the option, hey, I can invest 2 weeks. If I want to continue on, I'm feeling better, maybe I'll invest another couple of weeks, but it's up to them. They don't have to buy a whole, 4-week cleanse.
yeah.
Now, To go less than that, you certainly would benefit from doing something, even for a few days. If you're supporting the liver, if you're clearing out old waste from the bowel, that is going to be beneficial for you. But, you know, to really give a go at it in a way that might be more meaningful overall, I think a 2 week period is going to benefit more than just like a 3 day, you
Yeah,
know. But again, not that you wouldn't get benefit from something like that.
which is absolutely right. That makes so much sense. And yeah, because I feel the disciplines part is so hard. I like your cleanse because it's 20 minutes before breakfast and then
Yeah.
for dinner. So for
Yeah.
me, who never thinks about like what time we want to eat,
Right.
when I'm doing these cleanses, it helps encourage that like that discipline time. And of course, like I have a strict diet when I do it. I try to cut out
Mhm.
carbs and sugars. I try to just focus on like easy digestible foods to
Right.
aid with it. But the box also what you can use during the program.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So, with the Vital Cleanse, we use herbs to, and you can see on the box there, even it says to cleanse, really kind of support those 7 channels of elimination that play a role in the detox process, right? So that's going to be your liver, of course, and your bowel, but also, those other supporting like accessory detoxifying organs. So your liver, but also your lungs, your lymphatic system, your skin, your kidneys, bloodstream, and then, of course, bowel. So it is broken up into a two-part system where the morning formula that you would take 20 minutes before you eat focuses on the first 6 that I mentioned, so everything excluding the bowel. The evening formula is going to focus on cleansing the colon. Okay, so the vital fiber, why we recommend to take that not only with the organ detox, but really with all of our cleanses, including like the Candida parasite. We now have just strictly a liver formula that's going to be a more intensive liver cleanse, a SIBO cleanse that really kills bacterial overgrowth, focusing on that. But with all of those, to take the vital fiber. I know that people talk a lot about binders, when cleansing. So on TikTok or whatever, I think, charcoal is one that's mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
And so binders definitely have their place, and you do want to have a binder when you are doing a cleanse because you have so many toxins sitting in the intestine, right? And you want them to be bound to something so that they don't kind of, make their way through the intestinal lining, getting back into the blood, or, sitting there too long and the liver has to handle it again. And so you want them to be bound. Fiber is a great binder. And it actually works for 2 reasons. Number one, it's going to help bind, maybe not as intensively as like bentonite clay or something like that. You don't want to take those things long term though, because they can be too binding. And now you start binding to things that you don't want to be binding and removing, like minerals and things like that, right? But
Yes.
fiber is going to act as a binder, but also it's going to help kind of, you know, get that muscle contracting of the bowel. Right. So not only is it going to help bind the toxins, but it's going to do something to help kind of sweep them out as well. And you want both mechanisms happening. You want the binding and you want the sweeping. So fiber helps to do both those things. So we always recommend fiber along with any cleanse for optimal results, right? And helping with, like with, when you talk about like a microbial cleanse, the die-off that can happen, which is a big thing that keeps people from doing those types of cleanses because the die-off can be, you know, not debilitating, but causing you to feel inflamed and
Yeah.
mild flu, fatigued. And so by having a fiber along with it, it's going to help bind to those toxins so that they don't make their way back into the bloodstream after all that die-off's occurred and it's now all those toxins are sitting in the intestine. It really will help you feel better during the cleanse, not having so much of that die-off reaction that causes you to feel lousy. And the same with the organ detox.
That was just something recently too that I was finally able to make those connections. I was like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like a two-part system, right? You want to stimulate and get things moving, but you also want to kind of hold, like bind, grab onto those toxins and have them remain in the intestine, not making their way back into the blood until they're eliminated, until you sweep them out. And again, that's why we really like that fiber.
Yeah.
And then the probiotic, had held up the probiotic as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, so just, you know, if you're going through the motions of really intentionally taking a formula to support detoxification, and by the way, these are like the natural detox pathways. So we're not doing anything crazy. This is really more of a gentle formula that's designed for working people, for moms taking care of kids. And so kind of the second part to that is you want to cleanse as phase one, but phase two is really starting to rebuild, right? And restore. And with the vital flora, you're able to then start rebuilding the microbiome, right? Which is really important, that phase two.
Thank you. That was very well said.
And you know, one other thing I want to mention, and I'll look here at my product stash. I've got the Vital Gut Renew.
Oh, my favorite product.
Yes, well, everyone's favorite product, right? This really plays a very big role in that phase two. So, phase one being the cleansing phase, phase two, the rebuilding and restoring. So, we know that, especially for people who do struggle with constipation, and that's why the primary reason they're looking for that vital cleanse is to do more, focus more on the bowel. Um, Constipation can be very irritating to the mucosal lining of the intestine, right? As well as just a lot of things, you know, bacterial imbalances, too much production of gas, candida overgrowth, all of these things can irritate the lining. And cause you to develop some form of leaky gut. It's kind of a spectrum, right? But we want to repair that as phase two. And so the Vital Gut Renew is, here we go, is really such a fantastic formula to help rebuild that tissue of the mucosal lining and tighten those cell junctions that tend to loosen and let toxins through the bloodstream, microbial cells, undigested food particles into the blood. This will tighten those junctions back up. Um, so to really help seal up that leaky gut. So can't say enough about this product as phase two, really combining for optimal results. Combining the Vital Gut Renew with the probiotic is really key.
I always tell people too, it's something that I keep in my cabinet because, even if I'm doing great with meal preps and I'm doing everything right, I'm keeping everything at a minimum as far as like sugars and like bad carbs. Stress and environment is
Oh,
still is still a factor.
absolutely.
So
It's such it plays such a huge role in our digestive function, right? And in fact, that we're just in the spring, we're going to be doing an enzyme launch. And so I've been doing a lot of research on enzymes lately. And, you know, just it really gets into the fact that stress can really hinder our digestive enzyme production. And when that starts happening, and people aren't taking a digestive enzyme supplement, and but they're still continuing to eat the same types of meals that they're accustomed to eating, but they're going through a heavier period of stress, it's going to really kind of potentially give you an enzyme deficiency. So you're not breaking down your foods as fully as you should be, even if you are accustomed to doing so. But now that you're stressed, it can slow down that process. So what that leads to is more undigested food making its way to the colon. And you're not getting the nutrients kind of being unlocked from those foods to make their way into the bloodstream because they're not being fully broken down. But B, also that undigested food going to the colon leads to more microbial fermentation and gas production and potential toxins as well production. So stress is a really big deal for many, many reasons, but for your digestive function as well.
wow, thank you for that too. I love reading about them because enzymes are so crucial for the body. It was
They are all of our metabolic functions, you
yeah.
know, yes, yes, for sure.
Okay, and then with the cleanse, so I thought that right, trying to always create that like balance of how does diet and exercise play a role in like having a successful cleanse, whether it's like during or after.
Well, I mean, during, you know, so when you are, and in fact, actually, let me grab a box. Oh. So when you're cleansing, you know, and you're cleaning up the blood, right? It's also kind of increasing like blood flow to your skin. You know, in a sense that if when you're sweating, you would have the
Yeah.
ability to sweat out more toxins, right? With some of the herbs that we use in here. And so exercise, of course, sweating or going into a sauna, that's going to help kind of, um, speed that toxic load to be relieved from your skin rather than just like depending on your kidneys or, your colon, also eliminating through your skin. And so that is a great idea when you are doing a cleanse to help kind of get that process going. Also, exercises, especially, when you're jumping rope or if you're jumping on a trampoline, jogging, when you're moving your muscle and joint pumps like that, giving that kind of proprioceptive input, that can help stimulate that lymphatic flow, right? So your cellular waste gets dumped into your lymphatic fluid in the lymphatic system. And in order for it to drain properly, it has to circulate. But we don't have a circulatory, like a natural flow like we do in our circulatory system with our lymphatic system, right? We always have our heart, regardless if we just lay in bed all day, that heart's still pumping, circulating blood. The lymphatic system, you really have to move your muscle and joint pumps to get that fluid moving, containing all the waste. And so by exercising, during the time of doing that cleanse, that can be really helpful to drain that. We also do put in here yellow dock as an herb to help stimulate the lymphatic flow as well. So exercise is always going to benefit and digestion, right? When you exercise, that's also going to stimulate your digestive function. So,
Ah, that was awesome. I actually didn't know that about the lymphatic system.
yeah. And so with going back, one thing I do want to mention about the cleanse. Um, it is a two-part system. So, you're going to have two types of people looking to do this cleanse. You've got those just looking to do an organ detox for their overall health. They're really not struggling with constipation. Sure, they could do the bowel cleanse, but it's not really their focus. They don't deal with that, with chronic constipation. Then you do have someone who deals with chronic constipation. They're really excited about that part. On the instructions, it says for the evening formula, the bowel cleanse, to take 2 capsules at night. That is going to be too much for some folks. And I'm hoping that we can, marketing can kind of recreate the label to show that often it will need to be adjusted for people because 2 capsules for a chronically constipated person, great. For someone who is even mildly constipated or they're regular, if they're consistently taking 2 capsules, they're going to start having diarrhea more than likely, or they're just running to the bathroom, that just having that sensation 5 times, 10 times a day. And so again, this cleanse was not designed to have to go through that. Um, if you read a little further down in the actual instructions inside the kit, it does tell you how to modify the cleanse. So if 2 is too much, stay of the bowel cleanse, stay on the full dose of the morning formula to address those other 6 channels of elimination, but reduce the evening formula to 1 at night or even 1 every other night. Because, you know, if people don't understand that, they just scrap the whole cleanse and they say, I can't do that. This is just too much. And the
Yeah.
reality is, stay on the full dose of the morning. It's just the evening formula that is giving you a hard time. And it's because you don't need as much stimulation or hydration as maybe another person who has weaker bowel motility. They struggle with constipation. They have a lot of hard impacted matter they need to flush out. So I just always like to mention that to folks so that they don't just scrap the cleanse if they start having diarrhea. They just
Yeah.
reduce the bowel portion.
Okay, so read the full instructions.
Read the full instructions. Really? And the bottom line is too, even if 1 every other night is too much for someone who has an active bowel anyway, but they really want the benefit of the liver cleanse and the lymphatic cleanse and the blood cleanse, all of that. Just yeah, just taking it, modifying it to what fits your lifestyle and what's going to allow you to have 1 up to 3 healthy bowel movements per day, right?
Yeah,
It's not like a one size fits all kind of thing when you're talking about doing a bowel cleanse.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And then, yeah, the one thing that like always sticks from my Vital Planet trainings is we're supposed to have 12-inch movement, whether that's
There you go. And that's on the
yeah.
12 to 18, in fact. So it could even
Wow.
go longer
Yeah.
because 18 inches, that's about the range typically of the descending colon,
Oh,
so that
okay.
you're having a full empty experience. Um, but I don't know if how many people are out there with a measuring tape. I say,
Yeah, I don't know.
defy it.
I feel like I could feel it,
Yeah.
Something gonna go with the heart.
Oh, funny.
Tips on how they were successful or different approaches that they've done, which you kind of already shared, breaking down the evening capsules to one.
Yeah, I would say the cleaner that you eat, the more you're supporting your liver with your lifestyle, is going to be helpful during the cleanse. Because if your liver is having to, break down increased toxic load while it's trying to get, kind of deal with what it's dealing with, with maybe toxins that are maybe stored in liver tissue and it's working on that, I don't want to say it's counterproductive. Like, of course, you're going to get benefit regardless. Those herbs are going to work. But the more you can support that process with your diet, lifestyle, the more water intake to help assist with the kidneys, flushing the kidneys, the better off you're going to be getting the type of result that you want. Not in, consuming alcohol while you're doing the cleanse, trying to eat organic if you're able to. You know, looking at your fiber intake with your diet, not only through supplement, but also, just trying to increase your fiber intake in
Yeah,
whatever that way that looks like for you.
yeah,
So,
absolutely, and that can be tricky. I
yes.
recently started buying myself a bag of apples and a bunch of bananas to just like
Mhm.
keep in my car, actually, just for
Mhm.
work, and I always have it on the go. But because I'm trying to remind myself to like have those like raw foods and have those raw fibers to eat. Dinner's not so hard. I'm a vegetable forward person. So
Yeah. But you raise a good point. You're keeping those in your car. Because if they weren't just accessible, you wouldn't eat them, right? Because with our modern lifestyle, we're on the go, and the foods often we reach for don't contain much fiber. They're
yeah,
more processed, right? And so, really, it does require being more mindful and intentional. Setting out to increase your fiber intake. It's not something that just like naturally happens. You
no.
really have to, with the type of lifestyles typically that Americans are living, being intentional about it, making sure you've got fiber around in your car on the go, whether
Yeah.
it's, an apple, carrots, whatever people want to
It
grab.
works
But
for the winter right now, at least.
no,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And the more variety of fiber that you have in your diet is also beneficial because, the microbes in our gut have their own unique enzyme supply. And based on that enzyme supply is going to really determine what type of fiber, what type of plants structures they're able to break down. So the more of a variety you have of different types of plant fibers in there, it's going to give more of an opportunity to feed those probiotic strains in your gut so that they continue to multiply their cells and producing those postbiotics for you because, it's as they digest that fiber inside their cell, they begin manufacturing the vitamins and the short chain fatty acids and the enzymes and all the good stuff. So the key really is fiber intake to maintain that healthy microbiome and having fiber diversity as well.
Nice. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing all this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And then yeah, definitely like the next one of these, I would love to talk about the liver. Is it called the liver care? I might be saying
Liver Pure.
liver pure. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
we, well, you're on the right track. We have two. We've got the Liver Pure, which is going to be in more of like a kit like this. It's a
Yeah.
two-part kind of 2-week program. It's going to be more stimulating, heavy bile stimulants in there. Then we also have, actually, did they put one of those in here yet? Uh, yeah, it doesn't. Oh, then we have critical liver care, critical liver care, which is more a formula for more ongoing daily support. So it's not as stimulating. It's really designed to support that phase one, phase two liver detoxification that the body goes through on its own. But because often we're lacking specific amino acids and nutrients in our blood, the liver maybe doesn't have the tools that it needs to properly detoxify. So that's really what this product focuses on for daily. Whereas the liver pure, which again is more of a kit, that is going to be much more stimulating bile to just dump toxins into the intestine to get them out. So,
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. And then I thought I would also share how great your customer service line is for any guest
Oh,
interested or has a specific question. Um, you guys are awesome too because they're always somewhere. They're always somewhere on the package.
what the consumer
Yeah.
number? Yes.
Yes.
So like usually like on the side panel, call our product support team, which
Yeah.
by the way is Brenda Watson. Her sister
Yeah.
is head of that department. She's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, you're speaking to humans, very intimate,
Oh,
like
yes.
very knowledgeable as well. The whole team. It's really great to meet with all of you.
Oh, well, thank you. We really appreciate the support.
Yes, thank you so much for finding the time to meet with us. Is there anywhere like that the guests can find you on? Your
Yes. So we are on all the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and just look for us, follow us on Vital Planet to get great information
yeah,
from Brenda, from myself, talking about different topics and explaining different products and the way that they interact with the digestive system that can really impact your overall system, the microbiome, all that good stuff.
yeah. Because honestly, this is something I just thought of. But honestly, the more that you see it, the more you're going to be thinking of it, and the easier
Sure.
to connect the dots.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it is about connecting the dots, and your digestive system is like, central command for, really playing a role in your overall health, especially that microbiome. So, you know, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for meeting with us here at Green Acres Health Food.
Absolutely.